Paid for by Save Juneau, P.O. Box 32142 Juneau, Alaska 99803 Molly Duval Chair. Top contributors Wayne Coogan, James Wilcox, and Robert Jacobson.
Hello! It is Alex Sargent here. This evening, we are interviewing Nanobrooks. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Perfect. So first up, we're going to have you do a little background and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I'm born and raised Juneauite. I've spent my entire life here gaining work experience in the community, ranging from almost any field you can imagine, from childcare to trades. And I've contributed and supported the economy and municipal functions financially through being a multi-business owner and being the co-founder of a nonprofit. And something that I've seen is that, too many of my friends, my family, and my fellow community members are feeling like it's no longer practical to make a living here and raise a family, and they're leaving as a result, and it breaks my heart. And I am running for assembly to lend my skills and expertise in order to provide the best representation for the people, so that we can have systems and programs that allow everyone to thrive for now and for future generations. And that's only going to be achieved if we have responsibility, accountability, and transparency in all municipal functions. And that's what I'll do with your vote.
All right. And go ahead and let us know you are running, and you are running under the area-wide seat.
Yes, the area-wide seat.
The very competitive seat.
Very competitive. There's a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
And I would urge everyone to go out and vote for Joanne Wallace. And, as like when there are people that are all focused on what's best for the community and the individuals within the community, then you're setting up a team that's going to work for the people. And that's something like a lot of people feel like they haven't gotten as of recently.
Yeah. We all love living in Juneau, but it's expensive.
I love it more than anyone else.
Okay. We are very concerned about the cost of living. What is one idea the Assembly could implement to lower Juneau's cost of living?
Easy. There are provisions put into Title 53 of the Charter about a decade ago, and it has provisions for a land raffle. Mm-hmm. And a land raffle, it could be anyone 18 to 21 and over, $25 application fee, and if you just did one parcel a month for the entire year, you could bring in up to $8 million extra dollars for the city. If you scaled that up and went 50 acres a year, you could get tens of millions of dollars extra a year, and that in turn could drop the mill rate, create an environment that has more affordable housing, create economic prosperity for people that's associated with having land ownership. And then also support all the municipal functions of the city and make sure that they're properly supported to give the best benefit to the people.
Yeah, I actually want to piggyback off of that. I had heard quite a lot of information about the land that is available. People question that. Yes. They say, Juneau's small, so there's not a lot of land out there. Could you refute that? Could
yes,
you speak
absolutely.
About that?
And it is one of the good things that the city has done recently with creating the interactive parcel viewer. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to go through and see exactly where the city owns land. And there's over 5,500 acres of available city land, 3,000 about in South Douglas, another 1,100 in North Douglas, 800 Lemon Creek, 700 out over near the glacier, and 150 in Ock Bay. It's just all over the place. And these are all just wooded acre parcels. They don't have utilities, they're not developed, and there's a lot of costs associated with that. But it's out there, and if we can get it in the people's hand, I feel like the people are a lot better stewards of the land than the city is.
Okay, awesome. Just curious, have you looked at the one above 5th Street, up on 5th Street in Douglas?
Yes.
It's actually subdivided and has road
Yes.
and has
Yep, and
utilities and is attached
that's
to
how I would.
city.
And if you did implement a land raffle program, areas like that would be like the start of where it could easily start happening right away and stuff. So you'd get ones, subdivide acre lots in a few different areas, and then start taking one from each one, and then there's your year of program.
Yeah. So, all right, at both the state and city level, as well as private sector, there are tons of vacant open positions in Juneau's workforce. Why can't Juneau attract more people to live and work here?
It's pretty obvious. It's people are getting priced out of a good living here, and it's because of higher assessments, an unreasonable mill rate, and then just kind of dare I say, irresponsible spending. And the mentality that the current assembly has been putting off is kind of the one of, if you build it, they will come. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening is that the community is footing the bill for all of these facilities that don't have the staff. Mm-hmm. And then that raises the cost of living on the individual, so we can't get more people to come in, and it just becomes a downward spiral. So we need to take a step back as assembly members, and instead of focusing on how can we refine every function of city government, we need to look at how can we enhance the quality of life and the financial burden on the citizens of the community.
All right, cool. Well, that actually brings me into my next question, because it is talking about the assembly and your role. How do you see the roles of the assembly member and the city manager, which is hired by the assembly?
The assembly is there to be a tool for the people of representation. They're the mouthpiece for the people, and they're there to listen to the people and bring their best interests to municipal functions. The manager is a tool for the assembly, so the manager is a tool for the people as well. And the accountability of the manager is to the assembly, and the accountability of the assembly is to the people. So just making sure that there's always transparency, always accountability, and community involvement when it comes to finding people to have these positions, because they're responsible for, I think 9 other departments and a total of 548 full-time employees, and manages about $163 million in funds on an annual basis. And if we're afforded things for the hiring process of like Bartlett's CEO or a superintendent, where there's a lot of community engagement and input, and we're not afforded that to someone who controls 9 departments and just as many full-time employees and assets, then we kind of need to take a step back and look at what the level of consideration for community input and transparency has really been over the last few years.
Okay. Yeah. Talking about transparency, how would your decisions be affected by public opinion, testimony in person or email, versus using your knowledge and judgment you have gained on issues?
It preference to the people, It's like the people come first, and it doesn't necessarily matter what my personal experiences or views are on anything. The only benefit that my skills and experiences lend is how I can execute representing the people's interests better, So making sure that there's the right level of community involvement, community disclosure of information, and allowing them, it's like the people can come up with the best solutions in this community. No one out of state or some international conglomerate of consultants is ever going to come here and tell us how Juneau can be a better place and actually know what they're talking about.
All right. This is a hot topic that we have to bring up. Do you support public servants promoting the city hall with public money? Do you have an alternative option to solving the ill-managed public building we have today?
I do not support that whatsoever, and it's a very fine line in the city charter of whether they're actually able to do that or not. And it seems like they've danced around the language a little bit to justify how they can do that, because you're not supposed to be having civil servants using public money to advocate interests that go against the wishes of the people. That is about as backwards as it gets with municipal government. And there are a lot of other things that can be done to address the current situation of the facility, and I have been digging into that, asking for the actual quotes on the deferred maintenance to see exactly where it's losing money and where the biggest areas of repair would need to happen.
Yeah.
And until that is put out to the public, we're not really going to have a really solid idea of just actually how bad of a state we're in right now. But I should have that information soon, and I'll have a better solution at that point. There are so many just available options. Like I just saw that the Arctic carpet came up for sale.
Yes.
16,000 square foot lot, 8,000 square foot building, only need to add another 5,000 onto that, and that's what they want for the city space. Right. And it's $2 million.
Yeah. Right.
So I was just like, you can spend $2 million and then spend like another $10 million to add whatever you want onto it, and then neutralize to the entire community. Right. And I feel like by them going and being like, we have to be right here in the heart of downtown, we have to have underground parking, so on and so forth, of terrible ideas, they're not really keeping in mind what the best options are for the community and what the best financially responsible decisions are. And they said it has to be here, it has to be this, and it's like just in the time that they've been touting that, I've come up with multiple solutions that are at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah. That absolute mindset, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually going to jump into taxes and spending money in those regards. Some 400 homeowners appealed their property tax assessment this year. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about property taxes and your feelings towards that.
Yeah, they're extremely high in an unnecessary state. We're looking at, and it, they said, the current assembly said that's like, we're gonna combat these super high assessments and property valuations going up by dropping the mill rate 0.2 or whatever it was.
0.5.
Yeah, but even at that, I mathed it all out on some paper, and that on average it equates to a 39-cent a day savings.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, does that really help the people in any way whatsoever? It's like, no, for it to actually really help the people, we need to get that mill rate down to like the 6 to 8 range.
Right.
And that's when you actually start helping people.
Yeah.
And we could do that by diversifying the revenue streams in the community. It doesn't even have to just be the land raffle, but with all the mines, we could get a level of manufacturing and exportation. Like, why aren't we refining the minerals that are being pulled out of our ground and making the coils for all these renewable energy technologies and export them out and getting a bunch of extra money that could be on a compared level to tourism or even property taxes?
Yeah. Perfect. Our last little question here. As an assembly member, if you could make a promise to the voters that you swear not to break, what would it be?
It's not what would I, this is the promise I make, and I swear not to break, and that's that I will always put the people's interest first. I will always represent them before anything else. And it's not about the team assembly or team government function, it's Team Juneau. And the people are the ones who make up that team and are the ones who always should be focused on. And it's not hard for me to make that guarantee because it's what I do in my personal life already. Awesome.
Do you have any final statements as your campaign route here?
I see Juneau at an impasse in direction, It's like we all need to ask ourselves what direction we want to see the community go in. Right. And if we continue on what we're going with now, we're not going to see a sustainable future for the families that have decided to make Juneau their homes and want to make Juneau their homes. I want everyone to go out and vote, make sure that your voice is heard, because here in Juneau, it has so much power. It carries a lot of weight. And if more people get involved, a lot more accountability and responsibility will be a result. It's like they say, accountability breeds responsibility. Yeah. And the best way to maintain accountability is to have transparency. Yeah. And bringing that transparency and responsibility is what I'll do with everyone's vote on the assembly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening, and remember to vote. Mail-in ballots will be sent out September 14th, so they should hit your mailbox by September 16th.